Gather round, gather round. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the center of the stage, where I'd like to introduce to you the one, the only, the incomparable.
Hey everybody, welcome to Austin James Unleashed. I am Austin James. First off, I want to give a shout out to my good friend Kevin White with Mach 10 Media. This has been an incredible adventure, and we are so glad that you're with us for the ride. We have a lot of guests coming up, so make sure to like and subscribe. We are going to have a blast doing this show, and I'm glad you're along with us. With us today is James Linden Hogg, H-O-G-G. This guy is well, I'll let him explain it. It's hard for me. I have all these notes right here, and it would take an hour and a half to recite all the stuff that you've done, you've accomplished, what you want to accomplish. He's from South Louisiana. He's from Hope Villa. Explain where that is.
Yeah, so that's Hope Villa, Louisiana. That was actually, it's a small town. Technically, we'd call it Prairieville today. Mm-hmm. It was founded by my great-great-grandfather, Colonel Henry Thompson Brown, who fought with General Jubal Early at the First Battle of Manassas in the Civil War. So I love history, I love music, and so yeah, I could talk a lot about a lot of different things. But thank you so much for having me on your show, Mr.
Sure.
Austin. I mean, you know, we're such dear friends. I have to say, before you invited me on your podcast, my mother actually came across a photograph of you at my baby shower.
I was 7 years old at the time.
So you know, our friendship goes back a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you love history.
Yes, sir.
And you're what, 24?
I'm 23.
23 right now, and you
Yes,
have such a knowledge of history for someone who's 23. It's incredible.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I love folk music. You know, that's the kind of music I play, folk music. Music kind of that John Denver, Gordon Lightfoot, that kind of music. You know, Bob Dylan, they were all folk musicians. And one of the reasons why I love folk music is that folk music preserves the stories of the past through songs, through ballads, you know, sometimes about great battles or, you know, beautiful women. I mean, and my love of history and music just converges on folk music.
How long ago did you realize that you had this love for music and you had this love for history and you wanted to kind of melt those two together?
Well, I've always grown up around music. I mean, my father, he worked with you a long time ago, and so I've always grown up around music. You know, he played music, country music. He played country music here, you know, at the Texas Club.
Yeah, we're here at the Texas Club.
And you know, as a young boy, I had the opportunity to go on the road with my father with Mr. Ricky Skaggs.
Amazing.
And my father, he's recorded with Mr. Ricky Skaggs, and I have been honored, privileged to be able to do so years later. But no, just as a young boy, I got to go on the road and get on the bus and go around with Mr. Ricky. We were friends with the bass player, Mark Fain, and he's a wonderful musician. He's produced some of my records, multi-talented individual. But yeah, actually, true story, how I got into music and history. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and we were, like I said, friends with Mark Fain, the bass player for Mr. Ricky Skaggs, and he said, "Hey, you want to come on the road with us?"
You sounded like your dad when you said that. Hey, man, hey.
Well, yeah, the
Jim Hogg's his dad, by the way. He's very famous.
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. But anyway, he said, "Hey, you know, you want to come on the road with us?" And we said, "Well, heck yeah!" So we got on the bus. It was like 12 o'clock in the morning or at night in Nashville, and we started heading up the East Coast. And then one of the stops on this tour for Mr. Ricky, was in Charlottesville, Virginia. Well, if anybody's from Virginia and know, you know, their geography, know something about history, what's in Charlottesville? Well, there's UVA, and there's Monticello. And Monticello is Thomas Jefferson's home. So I didn't know anything about Thomas Jefferson, but everybody was talking about, you know, wanting to go see the beautiful old home. And I didn't know what the whole fuss was about. I mean, we just went to Dollywood a couple days before, so it's pretty hard to top that for an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah, because you're into roller coasters and all that other stuff.
I mean, you know, who
wants to go on vacation and talk about history and learn about history?
Exactly. I mean, what interest is that? And so anyway, that experience certainly did top it for me. I mean, we drove up on that estate, Monticello, and I just became enveloped into another world and falling in love with a man who was just absolutely brilliant. I mean, he was a statesman, he was a philosopher, and he was a musician. You know, he played fiddle.
Yeah.
And that experience, that childhood experience, just set me on a lifelong course, both from hearing the music and from Mr. Ricky and him taking an interest in me, and also from going to Monticello and seeing Virginia and all of American history.
So that was like a bolt out of the blue for you.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I remember listening or watching an interview with Don Henley of the Eagles, and he remembered when the Beatles first appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, and he said it was just an incredible feeling. He said, wait a minute,
Yeah,
that's what I want to do, and just boom, there it was.
absolutely. And you know, those childhood experiences, and I write about this, actually. I put out a book, and I recount this story. And those childhood experiences can set you on just a lifelong journey, and you can always refer back to that childhood experience, and that's your passion, you know, the seed of that tree that grows into a lifelong career.
Tell us about the book.
Well, the book is called Finding Faith in the Wasteland, Short Stories on Life's Quest for Meaning. When right before I graduated, I was looking out on the world, and like a lot of folks today, if you look out on the world, there doesn't appear to be a lot of hope. You know, you can get pretty depressed and seeing all the news and so forth. So I remember during this moment about a poem I learned about in school called The Wasteland. It was written by a great writer named T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot was probably the greatest writer of the 20th century. And he wrote the poem right after World War I. And World War I, if you know anything about it, was a horrible, horrible war. So many young men, they lost their lives, and some survived the war, and they came back home, and they really had a hard time. And so I remember that poem, and I thought, you know, I'd like to do something similar, but write stories about seeking light amid a bleak circumstance. And there's stories about, you know, musicians, there's stories about, you know, history, there's humorous stories. It's not all sad, it's uplifting. And so anyway, I put that together. And so that's my book.
So the book's available now. You can get it on Amazon, or?
Yes, sir. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Cavalier House Books out in Denham. That's one of the few independent booksellers. You can get it at the LSU Museum of Art, the LSU Rural Life Museum, and the gift shop. So
You've done a lot with the Rural Life Museum and that area and the whole thing.
Oh, yes, sir. It's the Rural Life Museum. I've just, as a young boy going out there, falling in love with history. I've volunteered out there, playing music and giving tours and so forth. It's one of Baton Rouge's best kept secrets.
It's amazing. I've been out there. I just love it. Absolutely love it. They have different events every year, and I know you and your father, Jim Hogg, have played there. Tell us about the Celtic music.
Well, you know, Celtic music or Irish music, Scottish music, is really sort of like the grandfather to a lot of country music, a lot of bluegrass music, that Appalachian kind of music heard in movies like Cold Mountain and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Well, Celtic music is sort of like the grandfather of it, you know, because so many of our ancestors, they came over from Scotland and Ireland, and they brought their fiddles and brought the music that they had with us to the New World. And I fell in love with this kind of music because, you know, I'm Scottish, Hogg is Scottish, Scotch-Irish, you know, and I just love that kind of music because it's part of American culture, you know. And I mean, you think about Glenn Campbell, you know, I mean, he played bagpipes. He was a multi-instrumentalist, incredibly talented.
And great hair.
And great hair. You know, he played that tune, Mull Kintyre,
Yeah.
you know, and I played bagpipes as well. And so, yeah, you just have to look for it, and you see that this is in country music. This is the heritage of country music, of bluegrass, you know.
Yeah. You know, Glenn Campbell actually toured with the Beach Boys. You probably knew that.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, he took the place of Brian Wilson for a while. So then they needed someone to sing the high parts and play bass, and he did that. Plus, he had the great hair.
He did. And I believe, you know, you can correct me, I believe I heard, you know, he played with this this group of session musicians called the Wrecking Crew,
Right.
out in Los Angeles. And I believe he was the only musician on that group of session players that did not read music, and who was allowed in this enclave of great musicians because he was just so good.
Yeah.
And that encourages me, because I'm not a great sight reader myself. So,
Oh, is that right?
No, sir. I play a lot by ear, frankly.
That must give you a headache when you do that, when you're banging the piano by ear.
Yeah, sort of.
It's hurricane season, and Go Roof wants to make sure you're prepared for the next storm.
Charge batteries so you can stay informed about weather conditions.
Be proactive by trimming and removing damaged trees and limbs.
Secure loose items around your house.
Check your insurance coverage to make sure you are covered for any potential damage.
Fuel up your vehicles, generators, and gas cans. Also, remember that stored gas is usually only good for around 6 months.
After the storm, call Go Roof for a free no-obligation roof inspection.
And be safe this hurricane season.
Tell us about all of the instruments that you do play. Now, I wrote some of these down.
Yeah.
Okay. Violin, banjo, the Irish penny whistle.
Yeah.
What's that?
Penny whistle. Well, if you've ever seen the movie Titanic, you know what you know what a penny whistle is.
Right.
You know the soundtrack.
Bagpipes, you mentioned that. Piano, guitar.
Yeah, guitar.
Accordion, harmonica, and mandolin. What about the spoons? Do you play the spoons?
Oh yeah. Well, that counts for two instruments.
Okay, gotcha.
You know,
so those are two more instruments that James Linden Hogg plays. Now, you were 13 years old, and you were on the stage at Jazz Fest. You were the youngest artist at that time to be featured at Jazz Fest?
Yes, sir. I was so honored to be able to be the youngest performer in 40 years, 50 years, to play at Jazz Fest. And I've gotten to go back to Jazz Fest again. You know, it's called the Jazz and Heritage Festival. So It's not just jazz music. You get a lot of different kinds of music. And I've gotten to go back and play. And that's a wonderful festival. I mean, it rivals the Newport Folk Festival, you know.
What about the cruise ship?
Yes, sir.
You and your father, Jim Hogg, perform on a cruise ship, right? And then I think you do talks or something like that?
Yes, sir. That's one of the things I do is I play music and I lecture on a riverboat. It goes up and down the Mississippi River. It's called the Viking Mississippi. It's a beautiful new vessel, very modern, sleek, and vessel. And so anyway, I'll get on board and I'll play this old time kind of music, and I'll lecture about Louisiana history, the history of the Civil War, and go up and down the river. And I'm kind of like Mark Twain, you know, and so I'm grateful for that opportunity to meet folks from across the country. You know, some folks, this is the first time they've even seen the Mississippi River, and I'm honored to be able to give that history of Louisiana and history of the river to them on the Viking Mississippi.
I would imagine that would be a great backdrop for your lectures and your talks on the history of the South and Louisiana and the music that you all play on that. Do you get inspiration for songwriting while you're out there?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I mean, the river is really beautiful. People who, like myself, like us, I mean, we've grown up next to the Mississippi River, and we sort of take it for granted. But the Mississippi River is the most important river in North America.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's so many great texts about the Mississippi River. Mark Twain, he wrote a book, Life on the Mississippi. He was a riverboat pilot as a young man. And so many people in history, even like Abraham Lincoln, as a young man, descended the Mississippi River on a keelboat and went all the way down to New Orleans. And that was actually, believe it, one of the first times he really was exposed to the evils of slavery, and he writes about that. And so yeah, it's fascinating because the farther up you go on the river, the more wide open it is. There's no levees, you know. You go past St. Louis, you have locks and dams and so forth, and it's beautiful.
So where do you go from here? Because I know that you're an author, you're a published author, and you have 4 albums. Is that right, or 5?
Yes, sir. I've got about 4 albums, and
they're all called College Fund.
Yes, sir. College Fund, College Fund Volume 1.
That's a great title for an album.
Well, the name speaks for itself. You might as well get to the point. You know?
Right.
But yes, sir. No. Well, right now I'm actually in graduate school at LSU, studying more history, and hopefully the goal out of this, I want to write another book, and it's going to be on the Civil War. I love the Civil War, love all kinds of American history, but this is about an interesting, unique event that happened in the Civil War, that happened right on the Mississippi River. In the heat of fighting, there was a truce, and I'm not going to give away the whole thing, but it's going to be an interesting book, and hopefully I'll be able to come back and talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to have you back on the show. At 15 years old, you were awarded, or you won the title of fiddle champion in Louisiana. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I was very, very honored to win the Northwestern State Fiddle Championship. And, there's so many great fiddle players from across Louisiana, and they have a contest every year at Northwestern State in Natchitoches for the state fiddle contest. And I was, a little boy, 15, not little, but I didn't really know it was the state fiddle contest. My dad, he said, they kept having these rounds, you go play and then you go back, and they asked to have another round, and you play a tune and you go back. And I'm like, Dad, what is this? He said, this is a contest. It's a state fiddle contest. Keep going back out there and keep playing tunes. And so eventually, after a number of rounds, I eventually did win it. And I've been so honored to be able to go back and judge the contest.
Really?
And there's some great fiddle players. And so I'm very honored to be able to just be a member of all those great Cajun fiddle players.
Yeah.
I love that French-Canadian fiddle music and Cajun fiddle music, because I'm part French as well, on my mother's side. Actually, on my mother's side, I did the ancestry and found my 8-time great-grandfather, Charles Pierre Thibodeau, buried at the oldest cemetery in Baton Rouge. So I am Cajun, okay? It may not be Hogg, but it's Thibodeau.
Right, yeah.
It's the other side.
He's got the Celtic music going on,
Yeah.
but he also has the Cajun stuff going on. 50% of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, sir. That's my...
What about Cajun food? I bet you love it.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite? I love, soft shell crab, but I don't know, that's not really Cajun. I think, etouffee, I'm not really picky at all.
Really?
No.
So shellfish, you're good with crawfish and crab
Absolutely.
and shrimp and oysters and all that stuff.
Absolutely. A good crawfish bisque, yeah.
You're going for your master's right now. You've written a book. You have 4 albums out, right?
Yes, sir.
And they're all entitled, which is kind of cool, College Fund 1, College Fund Volume 2, 3, 4. As you progress, are you going to put out an album with the title of 401k or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hope not. And then it gets a little tacky. But who knows? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
When do you have time to do other things like I know this is your hobby, right?
Well, I think it's a little bit more than a hobby by now.
I mean, it's a lifestyle.
Yes, sir. I think, I try to offer people with my music and books and speaking, all of that, sort of a vision of the world. And it's a kind of romanticized love of history, view of the past. And, I am an old soul. I do feel kind of like a fish out of the water in much of the world today. And, taking people through my shows on a journey through the music, through the stories, is really a passion, and that's why people enjoy it, I think, so much, and why I enjoy it.
What is your view of the world today?
It's going to hell in a handbasket.
A lot of people say that.
Yes or no? Well, I mean, history is a great teacher. You can go into the past and you can learn lessons. You can find other periods that were pretty similar, and you can find not necessarily comfort, but certainly solace knowing, okay, we've been through some of this kind of stuff before. But I think the biggest problem among my generation in particular is historical illiteracy. I mean, we don't know our past. We don't know anything about American history. We don't know what our values are, and that's pretty dangerous. And hopefully I've gotten to go into different schools and play this kind of music. And, again, music is a great way to get people interested about history. I think, and at least the kind of music I play, and hopefully that will spark an interest in them, that it did for me, and change the perception about American history, because it's not all bad.
Right.
It's a glorious history, and it's truly exceptional, I must say.
You can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like,
Hey guys, it was a pleasure serving you.
But we didn't even order yet.
Huh.
never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof.
Call Go Roof instead.
We offer a free, no obligation inspection.
A beautiful roof every single time.
Bobby, goes in the front.
Do you think there's a resurgence of Cajun music coming back?
I think there is. I think there may be some of that. I think this is true about all traditional music, is that there is a resurgence in people wanting to find their roots. They want to find, we live in a pretty artificial kind of age. Social media, it's funny. I am going to ask folks, if you could go follow me on social media and YouTube.
Go ahead.
James Linden Hogg, like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. It's so funny, but for many years, I didn't really do social media.
No kidding.
Yeah, but for music and stuff, you kind of have to do it, and to let people know where you're playing and whatnot. But I think people really want to get back to an authentic kind of age where we can have real relationships and have, hear live music and celebrate together and those sort of things. And certainly COVID contributed to this heightened isolation that everyone sort of feels. We're not reaching out to people. And I want to change that, and resort back to ways of fellowship, ways of entertainment that we've done for thousands of years.
Well, talking about live entertainment, we're here at the Texas Club in Baton Rouge. This place has a storied history. Your father played here a long time ago with the River City Good Time Band and some other acts. And we are so grateful to Mark and Mike Rogers for letting us have Austin James Unleashed on the road here at the Texas Club, talking with James Linden Hogg. And you have a dedicated website or not?
Yes, sir. It's James, James, Linden, Linden, Hogg, Hogg, JamesLindenHogg.com, and you can find me on the World Wide Web.
Yes.
And
which was going to be a passing fad, by the way. They predicted that a long time ago. You're a history buff, and you probably know that. The internet was going to be, it's going to be gone in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Just like FM radio, it's going to be gone. It's just a passing fad. Color on TV, that's going to be gone. It's going to be a passing fad.
Yeah.
It's amazing that so many kinds of ways to listen to music have changed.
Oh, yeah.
Recording tape, and then albums, and cassette, and 8-track, and the big thing was, CDs, obviously, but digital tape, audio tape was a real quick thing that left out of here. And you're reaching out, obviously, on all kinds of platforms, and that's great.
Yes, and everything has changed. I mean, it's more difficult, certainly, for musicians to make money performing and selling their music, because many of our copyright laws are very weak as it regards the selling of music. And but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
And so musicians, like myself, I mean, we make money performing.
Right.
And being in live audiences, and so that's how.
Tell us about your personal life. I know the music is personal. You're writing books and you're recording music and you're performing live, but what about personal life? Well,
I mean, this. It's kind of hard to separate this really is kind of my life. I mean, I also I love farming, gardening. I love stuff like that. I'm an avid. I listen to a ton of old music. I love all the classic stuff like John Denver and I mean, that's the kind of music I enjoy listening to, and yeah, what else? I mean, no, I tell you, actually, just a couple days ago, we have a few acres of land, and we've got this tractor, and I'm out in the on the tractor, trying to bush cut, the pasture, and yeah, so that's what I enjoy doing. I suppose.
What do you like to plant? What do you like to grow?
Oh well,
Vegetables, flowers, what?
Well, anything. I mean, vegetables and a lot of fruits. We have some fruit trees and stuff like that. Satsuma trees.
I bet it's peaceful.
Oh yes, absolutely, yes, sir.
I mean, you can really,
and it really kind of goes
really ground yourself out there.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But going out there with the tractor and just chilling out and growing things.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned that. I mean, if you study the biographies of some of these great musicians, like a John Denver, like a Dan Fogelberg, I mean, these people they were men of the soil, they were men of the earth, and they got their inspiration from the landscape, and I try to do that myself. I mean, even you think of Thomas Jefferson, he was a man of the earth, he was a man of the soil, and I think it's healthy to get out, and live as Teddy Roosevelt said, live a strenuous life,
Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Oh,
you'll be what, 33?
Yes, sir, that will be
okay.
Be correct. Well, it's hard to say. I want to certainly write some more books and keep playing my music. I don't know. I'd love to be able to play on the Grand Ole Opry or that would be a dream. I mean, to do that, and certainly I don't want to give up. I think persistence. It certainly can get lonely. Because the kind of music I play. I mean, it isn't necessarily a mass appeal. And so I've sort of had to accept that, I suppose. But I don't want to give up and be persistent. I mean, any successful person, it's just persistence.
What about going into film or TV?
Oh yeah, well that'd be great. I have been in some short films and I've made some short films and that's another great way of getting people interested into history. There's a number of films. I mean, my favorite films I love like Cold Mountain and Oh Brother Where Art Thou. I mean, the great cinematography in those movies and great soundtracks. So people ask, what kind of music do you play? It's like, do you like the soundtrack to Oh Brother Where Art Thou? It's like, that's the kind of music I play,
What kind of movies do you like?
I love, my favorite movie probably of all time, it was this series put out on HBO called John Adams. I love that film. I've seen it a number of times. David McCullough, he put out a book on John Adams. And it was made into a movie produced by Tom Hanks. It was a great film. I love, Brother Where Art Thou, Cold Mountain, and anything that has history connected to it. I like that.
Would you ever consider going into politics?
Well, yeah, I certainly do. I mean, if you study Louisiana politics, I mean, this is the best state to get into politics.
It's a sport.
It is a sport. It is
right.
a sport. And it's so colorful and so interesting,
especially during the time of Huey Long and the whole Long family. That timeline is just
absolutely
is like none other in the United States.
No, not at all. I mean, they truly were a political dynasty, Russell Long, and then Earl Long, who was a little crazy, but
he was,
but
wow.
And then Huey, of course, and he was really the biggest worry. I heard some historians say, who were two people that Franklin Roosevelt worried about? He worried about Huey Long, and he worried about, I believe it was MacArthur as well, Douglas MacArthur, I think. Was it MacArthur? I can't think. It was on the right and on the left. Just posing a threat to his presidency, like who would run against him.
Yeah.
And, I'm not so sure about the MacArthur.
I think MacArthur came a little
yeah,
later.
he was a general, I know, but
yeah.
Anyway.
We'll have to brush that up. It might be on another episode. We'll talk about the history of Huey Long and FDR. Again, we thank you for dropping by here at the Texas Club and being a part of Austin James Unleashed. I know you've got a lot of great things coming. And, of course, you can go to his website.
You can't put the cart before the horse.
That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof.
Call Go Roof instead.
We offer a free, no obligation inspection.
A beautiful roof every shingle time.
Bobby, goes in the front.
James Linden Hogg.
Linden Hogg. Sorry about
Linden
that.
Hogg.
And of course, social media, Facebook, Instagram, right?
Yes, or YouTube. You can. A lot of my music is on YouTube. If you want to go watch music videos.
Oh, before we go, tell us about the short movie that you produced. I forgot you're a cinematographer too,
Well,
and it stars your father.
yes,
He's in it.
No, it was a short film I made. It's called The Night of Prayers. It's on YouTube, and it's a short film about the Cuban Revolution. And my father does star in the film, so he's. I think he likes the movie probably the best. I think it's a very, very flattering.
And
film.
again, the title is
Called The Night of Prayers. The Night of Prayers, and you can find that on James Linden Hogg's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And but I got to tell you, Mr. Austin, I mean, I feel so grateful. Thank you so much for asking me to do all of this. I feel like I've talked about how great I am. I'm also pretty good with a pressure washer as well. Okay, so
he has another sideline business.
You can add that to the list of my random talents, I guess.
Well, my front deck needs some pressure washing.
All right. Well,
So, just drop by anytime and I'll help you out there.
I got it.
If you want to.
Yeah.
And you can bring your
my
mandolin if you want to play. You play the mandolin too, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Bring the band.
And you can bring the penny whistle and whatever you want and pressure wash and give a lecture and plant some tomatoes or something like that. And what else do you do here? You can also, let's see, I don't know, pilot a riverboat. That's probably going to be on your repertoire.
Well, John Hartford, he played some of the music on that Oh Brother, Where Art Thou album. He wrote the song Gentle on My Mind for Glenn Campbell.
Great song.
He played the banjo. Well, he was a riverboat pilot, So, anyway, just fun fact.
I have a prediction in about maybe 15 years, we may see Senator James Linden Hogg on TV.
Well,
Who knows?
John Kennedy. I mean, I love John Kennedy. I mean, the Democrats. I mean, he said falling feels like flying for a little while. But
That's hilarious. He sounded just like him.
And we got James Carville. Hang on there, Bill. I mean, we're on this thing here together.
So yeah.
Oh, this guy is multi-talented, and he pressure washes, which is great. He can do imitations and everything else, and he pressure washes. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you wait? Let me before I let you go. Do you have your own pressure washing business too?
I got.
Are you working on that? Oh, come on.
Oh no, sir, no. But no. I mean, if you pay me, sure, I guess. Well, sure.
Right. He'll come to your house and sing for you and do some pressure washing. James Linden Hogg, our guest on Austin James Unleashed. Good luck, man.
Thank you, Mr.
Can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Remember to like and subscribe. It's Austin James Unleashed. I am Austin. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon.